Hello, 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 everyone. Welcome to today's Water Cooler Chat, where we talk about all things Livepeer, whether it's delegating, orchestrating, broadcasting, or transcoding. Anything to do with Livepeer, we're here to ask questions and get answers. Today we have an agenda ahead of us. We have actually two speakers. The first half of this water cooler will be Thom. We will be going through the introspection upgrade. And the second half we'll be having a guest on with Nico. With Tenderize, talking about Orchestrator, liquid staking, and I guess it's an upgrade coming to Tenderize that affects Orchestrator. So it's very, very exciting. And yeah, so we got those things to go through. We'll start with introductions and topics, so that we have these topics to go through at the end if we have time. And yeah, I'll go ahead and start. I'm Titan, been running the Titan Node Orchestrator since April 2021. And yeah, my topic is around just the introspection upgrade and doing tests for the selection process. So pretty excited for that. And just setting up a dev box for that as well. I'm currently working on. So that's my topic. Papa Bear, would you like to introduce yourself and a topic?
I am Papa Bear. I've been running the solar farm orchestrator since July of 2021. I'm gonna, since Zuper's not here, I'm gonna steal his topic that he was asking about earlier and said he was gonna bring up today. He and I are curious to know if anyone knows about a new or next release for Livepeer and what we might expect from that.
Very good. I like it. Thank you so much for joining us, Papa Bear. Thom, would you like to introduce yourself? And I guess a topic if you have it, but I guess you already have a topic. But would you like to just start by introducing yourself?
Sure, yeah. I'm Thom. I'm Director of Engineering at Livepeer. I'm here today to talk about the introspection stuff, but I'm also happy to answer more broadly questions people have.
Very good. Thank you for joining us, Thom. Brad, would you like to introduce yourself and a topic?
Yeah, I'm Brad. I've been running the at Astro Video Orchestrator node since March of 2021. Topic today, I'm just here for the introspection discussion, and there's a lot of broadcaster in the background or in my free time.
Very good. I like it a lot. Thank you for joining us, Brad. Pawn, would you like to introduce yourself and a topic?
Good evening, everyone. Yeah, good evening, everyone. I'm Pon. I've been running Pon node for just over a year now, I think. I have no specific topic today. I'm just listening in.
Very good. Thank you for joining us, Pawn. Frank, would you like to introduce yourself and a topic?
Yes, good evening. I'm Frank. I've been running Ultima version node since 2 years now, and I have no particular topic tonight. Thanks.
Very good. Thank you for joining us. Nico, would you like to introduce yourself and any topics you might have?
Yes, hey everyone. Name is Nico, founder and CTO at Tenderize, formerly protocol engineer at Livepeer, and I'm here to talk about our Tenderize v2 launch cohort, which is a liquid staking protocol, and the Orchestrator grants we have for that.
Very cool. Yeah, very excited for that conversation, and thank you for joining us, Nico. John, would you like to introduce yourself and a topic?
Yeah, hey, this is John with Lead Encoder. I've been operating Orchestrator since 2021, September, October. No questions today. Just interested to see what's going on. I've been out for about 2 weeks.
Very good. Thank you for joining us, and yeah, welcome back. Okay, let's go ahead and get started with the first guest, which is Thom, talking about the introspection upgrade. So, Thom, do you want to kick us off a little bit around kind of the goals of the introspection upgrade, and then maybe what you're looking to implement?
Yeah, sure. So in terms of goals, we wanted to provide a little more transparency into what's going on inside the Livepeer broadcaster, right? Because I mean, the orchestrators have done a lot of work around like monitoring their own nodes, like with the limited view they have of the network, of seeing what's going on the orchestrator network. But it's still the broadcaster is generally a little bit of a black box. And that's somewhat true internally as well. Like, even for us, as we're trying to roll out fast verification, we'd like to have a little more of a definitive view of what's going on, particularly in terms of orchestrator selection, and work allocation, that kind of thing. And so the idea was that we try and get this like minimum viable product of something that lets us get that kind of information out, like some real clear audit log style of for a particular segment, like why is a certain orchestrator being chosen, which ones were in the running, why did the one that got chosen end up getting chosen, and ideally, like I'd like to be able to filter it by stream ID, so I can go and see for a given stream ID, like which orchestrators did it move between, when it did switch, why did it make that switch, stuff like that. And similarly, like be able to drill down for a given orchestrator as well, so see like for a given orchestrator address, what different streams were coming in, like when was it getting work, when was it in the running for work but didn't get chosen for work, that kind of thing. And yeah, so we put together a proposal. I've been working with Titan and a few other people in the community, and we've come up with this really lightweight system that's just going to be a public low-key instance, so public log aggregator, that we're then going to create a new logging method for within the broadcaster, which is obviously all open source. And then anything written to that logging method rather than the regular one will get pushed to this public low-key. And so the idea is that once we have that, we can, we as in Livepeer can go and add the log lines we need, but also it's going to open it up for the community to be able to go and add in a log line for any area you're uncertain about or that would be useful to you. And we can then, like, just by merging that and upgrading the Livepeer broadcaster, you'll then be able to see the results getting pushed to this public low-key. I guess like the intention is it's used for debugging, like short-term debugging, right? So being able to see some issue is happening with my orchestrator today. Why was that happening? Why was it not being considered for work, or why was this other one being considered? So I think initially we're going to have a fairly aggressive retention policy. We'll maybe keep these logs around for 2 or 3 days. But yeah, the idea isn't that it's going to be some big historical record that you can go back and query, but more just for like immediate questions or bugs. So yeah, that's high level what we're doing and why we're doing it.
Very good. Yeah, that's a very good explanation of what what it is we're looking to achieve. And from the orchestrator standpoint, I think we're all very, very excited because we get to now debug our own systems and not looking and wondering why we lost a stream or where it went. It's going to be super helpful for us. So I got a couple high level questions, and then we'll kind of go into more specifics with the community and everything. So I'll just get started. Is this upgrade ideally going to be for multiple broadcasters that want to opt in into the low key, or is this going to be hosted by Livepeer Inc. and it's going to be more of an Inc. Thing that that will be opted into? Like how many other broadcasters could also tag onto this idea and maybe collaborate?
Yeah, that's an interesting point. So initially, it will just be Inc. The Inc. broadcasters will have their own low-key. We'll set up our broadcasters with the credentials to push to that low-key. And yeah, I guess if other broadcasters, non-Livepeer Inc. broadcasters wanted to, it's pretty trivial for them to set up their own low-keys as well. But yeah, I mean, if it's successful, the idea of having one single aggregation point across multiple broadcasters would be interesting. That's definitely, yeah, if it's something we find useful, then it's something we could explore in the future.
Definitely. And so the implementation of this, is this going to be something that the broadcaster will have to opt into when they'll launch their broadcaster kind of node? Is it going to be like a flag they add and then like an output place? How do you see that happening?
Yeah, we haven't decided on the exact flags yet, but yeah, I think it'll be a new flag, some sort of like public logging credentials type flag. And so yeah, the broadcaster will opt in by setting that, and then these new log lines we define will get pushed to there.
Very good. I'll open it up to the general public now to ask some questions. Does anyone want to ask any questions to Thom right now?
So is the goal to put it on all of the Livepeer Inc. Broadcasters,
Yes.
or just select number? Okay. And that will all be aggregated into one Loki instance? I don't know if
That's
that's the
right.
right
Yeah,
term.
they'll all be pushing to the same place.
Okay, that's my first question. And then will we be able to see specific? I mean, I don't. How much transparency are you looking to give us? I mean, like, are there certain things that are off limits that you don't want to share?
I'm not sure. Yeah, I think we'll just kind of do it on a case by case basis. I don't think like nothing springs to mind that's going to be hugely sensitive. Like we mainly didn't want to expose all the loggings. We were worried about leaking, like accidentally logging some credentials or something like that, rather than any business sensitive information.
Got it. And have you seen the Brad's, like, for lack of a better term, like dashboard or chart that is logging the stuff that he has added to his broadcaster?
No, I haven't taken a look yet.
I'll
Yeah,
post a link to that if you want to take a peek at that.
Mhm.
Just curious to know if there's anything on there that you see that would either be like, oh, you'd like to see added, or like, no, I don't want to share that kind of stuff. Here, I'll post that at the.
What?
Yeah, I'll try and take a look through the and then directionally. Yeah,
I believe it's just parsing lines. So if you have a Loki instance, you can easily just build any type of dashboard you want to visualize the data. Is that correct, Brad?
Yeah, that's correct. It just uses Python it pulls the logs from Docker using like the Docker Python package and just starts parsing them line by line using simple string splitting to get. And really, I made it to try to see, because me, Titan, and John and Papa Bear went through a lot of code and tried to add logs, log lines where we thought we needed, and also mark the lines that we wanted. So I was building this just to see if we could even get what you want, or if it even helps. And I think it does help, at least to some degree, on things.
I mean, this is so much easier than actually looking through the raw log data. I mean, I was spending a lot of time like looking through the log stuff, trying to see what was going on, and this just well, it doesn't necessarily have all of the detail in here. I think a few more things could be added to it, and I think, and you were talking about even putting in one of the things Thom mentioned was Orchestrator specific. I'd like having an Orchestrator specific page to see more detail on it.
Yeah.
But I mean, that data is there. It's just not presented in this in the chart. But yeah, I think it's been a lifesaver. I mean, I learned a lot. I was like, oh wow, look at that. You know, response times aren't what I thought they were, and you know, just changing things around, and it was very eye opening.
It provides a good baseline. It just sends out 10 segment streams, the same 10 segments every time. Right now it's doing it every 5 minutes, but I can change that to kind of whatever I want to now. And the selection part is interesting because it confirmed the random is running at basically 30%. And it stays pretty close to that after it's been running for a while. One of the other things it shows that I recently added that I would kind of want to keep track of and monitor is it calculates the total stake, like for any given selection pool. It looks at what orchestrators were included in that selection pool or session pool, I believe is what it's called in the code. And then in the code gets a stake for those and adds it all up to try to see what that looks like. And right now it's running at a minimum of 491,000, a maximum of 7.4 million stake in the session pools.
I also like seeing the orchestrator swapped and then you can also go in and see why an orchestrator was swapped out. Like, so if they weren't able to keep up with real time, that info is in the logs. And it's interesting then going in and seeing are there certain orchestrators that seems to hit a lot, which were found that there are a couple that
there's two. Yeah, there's
pretty
two
much
that are always pretty much the same.
Yeah, so like this is another conversation I wanted to open up is like getting this data so that we can then pre-fast verification start talking about any nodes we potentially want to manually take out of rotation for the Livepeer broadcaster, like if there are nodes like doing egregiously badly, not just, but we're not looking to cut anyone for being a little slow or failing to transcode sometimes, but yeah, just getting this data and starting to talk about nodes that are consistently just not transcoding.
My guess, just based on the two nodes that Brad's talking about, is that they probably just have been configured a while back, have transcoder turned on, but aren't really necessarily trying to transcode. That's just
Yeah, at
that's my
best
guess from
it's
them.
CPU, like it's processor transcoding. It's not using a GPU.
I mean, they basically fail
One doesn't
after the
return a
first.
lot of times, and it just
Yeah.
times out at the 8 seconds.
So so that's got to be just in general bad for the network to have to, because they do get selected a lot. They have a lot of stake, so that's just a delay before it can actually hit a good O. So if there's a way to filter those out, that would be, I mean, in my opinion, great.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, what you're describing sounds pretty much what I remember from my Livepeer days in broadcaster node. Also on like the session pools and how it works is pretty much correct, unless big things have changed.
Very exciting.
I think it's a difficult question on those nodes, because yeah, Livepeer Inc. can say exclude them, right? But if it's in the default selection algorithm that doesn't go session to session, they still have a chance every time it gets selected, and they will. But truthfully, usually by segment 2 to 4, it's figured itself out.
Yeah, so there is a penalty if they fail to transcode. The thing is that if the penalty system works on a per stream basis and not like over multiple streams, that was a decision made at the time.
Yeah.
But that could be like a potential thing to look at, to exclude.
Yeah, that's actually,
I read through that initial discussion, and I tend to think that there should be some more looking into that, because I saw that one of the main issues of why to do it on a per stream basis was for like private network setups, which I don't think there are many uses actually in the wild for that are going on right now. So it might make more sense to do it on a not on a per stream basis, but have some other system in place that can penalize for a little bit longer period of time.
Yeah, I think so, because it's still going to be per broadcaster node, right? So Livepeer are running multiple broadcaster nodes. So even if we get more aggressive and make it per node instead of per stream, you're still going to have chances on other nodes if it is just a temporary problem.
Yeah, and I mean, I just had some thoughts about, like, I mean, just nothing that I've discussed with anyone. I don't know what the feasibility would be. Is I mean, whether it's a timed thing where just like, oh, after a certain amount of time, give them another shot, and if they fail, then I guess put them back in the penalty box. Or if you wanted to get fancier, maybe after a certain amount of time, you actually just send them a test stream and see if they perform, so it doesn't even affect, you know, potentially real work. But that's probably not a big deal if it's just every so often.
Great. To continue on with some of the questions, Thom, how
score also goes down if you like just over time. Sorry, didn't mean to interrupt.
Sorry, I didn't catch that. What did you say, Nico?
I was just saying that I think the penalty system is already on a score basis, so it goes down over time if you don't get selected, but it builds up incrementally if you fail to transcode.
But that is still per stream, is that correct?
Correct, that's correct, yes.
Right. Whereas if that was maybe more of a logged item into like a database or just a JSON file, then that could be tracked and maybe more accurately kind of do better stream selection, especially with VOD, because isn't VOD more independent, like single 10-second segments?
Yeah, that's right.
Although that would probably, I think VOD, it matters less getting it on time, right? Or are we, making sure we still want to get VOD back quickly.
I mean, yeah, it's less time sensitive than live, but yeah, it's still we're still tracking how long it takes us to process an asset versus the asset's length. So yeah, ideally we do want it to be quick.
I mean, real world Xenon really wants their VOD up as quick as possible, and they've actually gone ahead and made it so that it paralyzes over, I think, like 8 orchestrators versus whatever Livepeer's default is, because they wanted it back faster. So I guess it really depends on the client. My initial thought would have been like you, it's VOD, takes a little longer, no biggie, but they want their stuff up as quick as possible. So hey, if they're the client and they're paying for it, give them what they want if we can.
Very good. Thom, how much, this is obviously still a new discussion. We're on the orchestrator side, we're doing like a lot of discovery. Basically, we're running through the code, trying to figure out where we want to log things, and how, Brad has already gone ahead and figured out ways we can maybe display this type of information. Where are you on developing the method, and how far along are you?
So we actually slated this in for June. So we just kicked off today with standing up this low-key instance and looking at creating this new logging method. I mean, I think both of those pieces should be fairly straightforward. So either this week or next, I'm assuming we'll be wrapping up, and then we can look at the log lines you guys have made and start talking about merging those in.
You want me to do that as a pull request, I imagine, because I have it in a single commit on my repo.
Once we have this logging method, if you could do a pull request, convert them over to using that method, and then do a pull request, that would be good.
Okay, I can do that.
Wonderful. And to continue on with some of the log lines, I've successfully set up a broadcaster where I bombarded one NVIDIA card with 25 benchmarks, and got the segment, a 2-second segment, to come back in 7 seconds. And so while I was looking for the lines of where it would switch over to the new orchestrator, I wasn't able to do that because I don't know if I added the right line somewhere or anything like that. So when we're ready out, I'm really excited to also add some more log lines for the switching of orchestrator too. So when we're ready to do that, we can maybe set up our fifth or our fourth introspection official meeting where we can mess around with some of this stuff. So that'll be very exciting. Great.
Yeah, I think once we have this skeleton in, it should be really easy for you to incrementally add stuff. And I'm really excited to see stuff like this dashboard getting built off the back of it. That's exactly what I was envisaging once we have this like base layer of structured logging. I'm interested to see what aggregations we can do on top of that.
I will say real quick that we've added no lines to fast verification, so I think that's going to be on you guys.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. We can say that.
Every section I saw of that, I just closed it. I was like, don't need that. I don't know what's going on here anyway.
Yeah, because there's trusted pools and untrusted pools and all these kind of things, and I think right now we're just figuring out the untrusted pool, because I think everyone's in the untrusted pool currently.
Well, what actually is a trusted pool? Like, what puts you into a trust? Because I notice, like for real production stuff, at least in the orchestrator, it shows that pretty much everything's a trusted pool and verified. But on these tests here, they're always untrusted, and I don't know if verified comes up as one of the things. But what does it actually mean to be trusted?
Well, yeah, it's up to the broadcaster to define, right? So I think initially we were going to launch with the Livepeer run orchestrators being trusted, everyone else being trusted, and then potentially over time look at bringing in some like orchestrators from the community that we trusted into the trusted pool, either doing that manually or moving to a more dynamic system where, like, over time, as an orchestrator consistently produced good results, they got moved dynamically into the trusted pool. But yeah, initially it was just going to be.
So is that part of the selection process right now? Because I haven't just seen
No,
that this time.
that's not
Okay.
part of the selection process.
I guess I still don't understand exactly then how or what the purpose is or how it works or how it affects anything or.
Well, I mean, it's not part of the selection process because it's turned off at the moment.
Oh, so currently it doesn't really matter the way things are implemented. Is that?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, fast verification is
Oh, okay.
at the moment.
Okay.
And I believe, I mean, that's why Brad left that extra line there of performance, because I believe that's the difference between trusted and untrusted, right? Because that is that based on performance or is that based on like returning proper pixels?
So trusted and untrusted is just at the moment hard coded. So trusted orchestrators are Livepeer orchestrators, untrusted are community orchestrators, and then the way fast verification works is every like say every 10 segments, as well as doing the normal selection algorithm and sending the segment for transcoding to the community, it'll send it to the one of Livepeer's own orchestrators, and then like do all the video level comparisons of the segments to check it. What we're getting back from the untrusted orchestrator matches what we got from the trusted one. And
Oh, I
then,
see. Okay.
and so initially that was just going to be like we were going to launch with that as a metric, so like another layer of being able to see which orchestrators are generally doing the right thing. But beyond that, like once we were happy that was working well, the idea is that we'll then start looking at automated. Like it's another way of doing automated cutting of orchestrators from the selection process if they're returning bad results.
Is the trusted pool something that is just manually selected, or do you enter the trusted pool and then that gets cross-referenced against untrusted pool and then that brings them in, and then like how does that work?
Yeah, so at the moment it's just hard coded, right? So it's when we start up the Livepeer broadcasters, it's configured. We've just got a list of trusted orchestrators, and so yeah, like when we're going to pick a trusted orchestrator rather than going via the normal selection algorithm that we'd go through to find an untrusted orchestrator, we just pick a trusted one from this list.
Right, of course. Because that's the that's the parallel transcoding that Livepeer is doing currently, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, very good. Cool. All right. Any more questions for Thom as we continue down this path? All right. Thom, do you have any more comments you want to make on this upgrade? Anything in particular that you're excited about, or any challenges that you see coming out of this that you would like to address?
I don't think so. No. Yeah, I'm interested to just get it out there and start seeing. Like, I'm sure it'll like the building of this dashboard. It'll start heading off in different directions as you all start adding different lines to it and playing around with it. So yeah, I'm just interested to ship it and see what happens.
Very cool. Any last comments, questions? I'm inviting everyone up to stage because we'll probably be starting the second part of this session soon. But any last comments or questions from the community about the introspection upgrade?
Just excited to see it, but no questions.
Yeah, I'm very excited for this upgrade. I think this has been for about 2 years now. I've always wanted to know why I got a stream and why I lost a stream, and so I think this is going to be a really good insight into mainly why I lost a stream, because I get lots of spiky spikes, and I think, is that just a 45-second stream? Those do exist. Some people just turn the thing on for 45 seconds and turn it off. That definitely could be true. Or did I lose it after the 45 seconds? Or, want to make sure it's nothing on my end that caused the loss of the stream. So I think that takes a lot of question marks and guessing out of the equation when this comes up about. So Brad, just to add on to your dashboard there, maybe a bar that shows number. I think you have it already. It says number of orchestrators switched, but it would be good to see, like, if you dropped one because you were too slow, which
it's already in the works.
Yeah. Okay. I don't need to tell him. He already
I,
knows.
I already drew him up the mock-up for it, but it was this morning. So
Yeah.
So give him an hour. It should be out.
And I've got the orchestrator node ready for when you're ready to test out slower transcoding. So it's ready. I just click a button and we can test it out. So pretty excited for that. All right. Great. Lots of testing going up, and should be fun. So yeah, thank you, Thom, for joining us and taking time out of your day to talk about this upgrade. We're very, very excited for it. We'll probably revitalize the introspection thread. I think it's disappeared, but we can bring it back. And as you continue on building this through the next couple weeks, please feel free to provide any feedback to us if you need any help or comments or anything like that.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Excellent. Thank you, Thom. Appreciate you being here.
Thank you.
Thanks, Thom.
Very cool. All right. What we're going to do next is we're going to hop into just the rest of the introductions, and then, because some people have joined us, and then we're going to head into the second part with Nico. So the people that have joined us since the beginning is, let's start with Chris. I got you on here. Chris, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, sure. My name is Christian. I'm the co-founder of NiveChain, hub for video creators to better monetize your content, and I don't have a particular topic for today.
Very good. Thank you so much for joining us, Chris. Ryan, would you like to introduce yourself and a topic?
My name is Ryan. I run Nightnode and Video Miner with a few of the other orchestrators here. Been doing this for 2-3 years now. No topic today, just listening.
Very cool. Thank you so much for joining us. And I believe that's everyone on stage. Otherwise, yeah, everyone in the audience. If you feel free to come up here, just right-click and invite yourself up to stage. All right, next we'll jump into the second portion, which is with Nico. Nico is building Tenderize and doing a lot of interesting work with liquid staking and Livepeer and other protocols as well. Nico, do you want to start us off with an overview of what you're doing now and kind of what this upgrade is and how it affects us?
Yeah, definitely. First off, want to say that it's great to see like the tremendous growth in community contributions to Livepeer. It's not always been like that, but it's awesome to see the growth in the community. So to start off, let me see if I can share my screen. We can. Okay. So yeah, my name is Nico, building Tenderize. Tenderize is a liquid staking protocol. Liquid staking, real quick. If you normally stake your LPT, it becomes locked in the bonding manager contract and you can't use it. With liquid staking, if you stake through Tenderize to Livepeer, you get a derivative token, TLPT, which represents your stake and your rewards, which you can freely transfer, sell on a DEX, and theoretically also maybe collateralize to get a loan against it and stuff like that. So that's liquid staking in a nutshell. And historically, liquid staking, well, historically sounds like it's very old, but it's quite new. But it's been approached as sort of a yield aggregation strategy mostly, whereby retail funds is paired together and staked towards a potentially whitelisted group of nodes or validators or orchestrators, depending on the network. And what we want to do is create liquid staking on top of the native staking experience for a network without changing the behaviors or anything like that. So we have a couple of slides on the problems, but that doesn't really matter for today. So what we want to do is give each orchestrator its own liquid staking vault with its own TLPT token. So for example, you'll have TLPT Titan node. You can have TLPT solar farm. I don't know, and you can use it to self-delegate to yourself, or your delegators can use it as well. And that's kind of the big change that we're making in liquid staking. And the other big thing is that you can spin up your own vault, or a delegator can do it for you. You'll have your own token, but you also don't really have to worry about liquidity, because we're building a new AMM that is application specific for liquid staking. And you'll basically be sharing the liquidity for the derivative tokens with a big pool of the underlying assets. So in this case, the various TLPTs that I mentioned will be sharing liquidity in a way with a big LPT pool. So you don't have to worry about spinning up your own liquidity pool or anything like that. That's all like foreseen in the protocol. So what it kind of looks like is very similar to something like the Livepeer Explorer. You have a list of the nodes that's available on the network with their API and TVL. And you can stake to it, you can unstake, but you can also instantly swap your staked assets back for the underlying through the liquidity pool. And what we're doing for V2 is we want to basically onboard every orchestrator on the Livepeer network for our launch cohort, or as many of you as possible. And the goal of this is for us to build up TVL to go live, and to provide you with the opportunity to switch through to staking to Tenderize, which obviously might involve unstaking or switching your stake, and also using Tenderize. We're going to give you a orchestrator grant if you join the launch cohort, which will be roughly like a 10% APR on like the stake you initially stake through Tenderize for the first year. And part of the grant, like 50%, you can use to attract new delegators, or incentivize your existing delegators to switch to using Tenderize as well and switch their stake to your node. On top of that, we'll also have incentives beyond the launch cohort. So at launch, we'll have a airdrop for people that initially use V2 and become part of the Tenderize V2 set. And there will also be a prolonged airdrop over like the first 3 years of the protocol. So it kind of increases your APR in total, probably to like 20 or 30%-ish on top of your existing staking rewards. So that's basically it in a nutshell for the Validator Grants program. We just want as many of you to switch to staking using Tenderize and basically have the same experience as you do today for your orchestrator or your delegations, but then with liquid staking on top.
Very cool. It looks amazing. And how long have you been working on this, Nico?
Yeah, good question. So Tenderize V1 is live at the moment, and it stakes to one orchestrator, which is Coaction at the moment. It's been live for over a year, been running smoothly with no incidents. And we've been building Tenderize V2 behind the scenes for like probably a year now, conceived the ID probably a year ago and started building it right away after like everything was done, after the brainstorming and architecture and stuff like that. And we're hoping to release it by the end of the summer. So really excited about that. So we've been taking.
There we go. Sorry, it cut out just a bit for me. I don't know if that was me or Nico. So a part of this program, Nico, is there any, this is a liquid staking derivative of someone else's stake, of somebody's stake. What or is there any counterparty risk involved with this type of staking?
So yeah, there is like an additional layer of smart contract risk, as if you would put your LPT into something like Uniswap or anything like that. But we, of course, take security very high in regard. We'll be having multiple audits by top audit firms and also independent auditors. And also Yeah, any smart contract OG from the Livepeer team is also welcome to look at it. The code for the smart contracts in Livepeer hasn't changed that much over the years, especially the staking part of it. So I'm pretty confident that we got that down correctly. So yeah. But yeah, it also expands the UX of staking for Livepeer. For example, you can't delegate to multiple orchestrators with the same Ethereum account. And that's been like a big issue for years. But with Tenderize, you'll be able to hold multiple liquid staking derivatives from various orchestrators at the same time.
Very good. I'd like to open it up now to any questions from the community. Anyone have any questions or comments about what they've heard so far?
Hey, Nico. On the loan side of it, is that that's a future thing, right? A future possibility, not a current possibility.
Yeah, that's why I said theoretically. Once we launch Tenderize V2, we'll be adding other assets and working to add ETH as well, but also look to add DeFi integrations like lending and borrowing. We've had some initial conversations there, exploring various ideas with for example, the Euler team. And it's going to be a bit of a two-way street, so to speak, of getting that integrate with a protocol like that. But we're also thinking in 2024 to potentially build out our own lending and borrowing system application specific for our liquid staking derivatives.
Sounds good. I don't like unstaking LPT to pay taxes.
I don't think anyone does, so that's also why we're building this. And one of the use cases that I've always imagined running Livepool was that I would be able to collateralize, get a loan against it, and hire someone to help me work on it. So I hope we can achieve that in the future.
All right, I think it looks pretty cool, especially the being able to delegate to multiple orchestrators. I personally sometimes take my LPT I earn and I will put some amount of it on a smaller orchestrator for a while, try to help them out and help them get a little bit more in their reward call. So doing that without having to have 10 different accounts would be great.
Yeah, indeed. And I also think it just helps for like the DeFi power users that they can like just use a multisig to potentially invest in the LPT ecosystem and staking.
Very good.
I've got a question, if it's all right, and forgive my ignorance. I've been trying to understand liquid staking for the last 2 years, and I'm kind of getting a grips on it. But so when someone pushes their stake, switches it to Tenderize, they're no longer earning LPT, right? They're earning the derivative. Is that correct?
Yeah, so the derivative represents your earnings. So with Livepeer, it's a bit weird because you earn LPT and ETH, and usually you would like withdraw the ETH and like I don't know what people do with it. Personally, I usually just buy more LPT with it. And then you have your LPT rewards, which are just added to your stake and also locked. So basically, you are earning LPT, but we just represent it in your wallet as additional derivative TLPT. And the ETH side of things, we under the hood swap it for more LPT, and that gets added to your balance as well. So the full set of rewards that you get in Livepeer will automatically compound for you.
Okay, and I guess the idea is that one TLPT equals one LPT, correct?
Yeah, that's correct. One TLPT will always equal one LPT.
And how do we trust that will remain the case for the long term?
Yeah, that's a good question. So to get your LPT back out of Tenderize, you have two options. You can either unstake, like you would do in Livepeer, wait for the nearly 7-day unbonding period, and then withdraw your LPT. What this would do in Tenderize is you would burn your TLPT, you get an unbonding lock, same as in Livepeer actually, but the fun thing is that we turned this into an NFT, so you can also sell the unbonding lock on something like OpenSea if you want. It's kind of a gimmick, but we thought it would be fun to include. And so like it's basically like unstaking in Livepeer. So that guarantees you can always get your LPT back out for the TLPT that you hold after the waiting period. The second option you have is if you don't want to wait for the 7 days and you say, okay, I need my LPT back now, you can go to the liquidity pool and swap it out for LPT. The way the liquidity pool works is the price is basically hard-coded to 1, but there is a slippage curve based on the amount of liquidity available. And it roughly behaves similar to a stable swap pool.
Okay, cool. I'm a bit cautious. I mean, I love it. It's just, like part of me wants to go to, one of the big delegators I know and say, hey, like, switch your 200,000 LPT to Tenderize. And the other part of me is like, if I do that and then, something happens with Tenderize or something happens with the derivative, then it's a bit scary to think about, pushing an investor to go towards that route. But I mean, everything you've said here, it looks pretty great. Looks like you put a lot of time into this.
Yeah, thanks for the feedback, by the way. That's something we get the most is like, okay, that there is like additional risk involved with using Tenderize over the native protocol itself. That's why like security for this is super important, and why we've also, I think we've been talking about Tenderize v2 for a couple months now, and like first maybe thought we could release it like in I think it was March we first said, but with all the security things that come with it and taking that in high regard, like development takes longer. And yeah, it will be fully open source. We'll have bug bounties. So yeah, and we hope like you just get a lot of additional utility out of it once the ecosystem grows. So we can also offset that risk with additional utility. But yeah, you don't have to stake your full amount of LPT through Tenderize. You can stake part of it and keep like part of it natively staked, for example. Those are also options that you have. And yeah, there have been bugs in the Livepeer staking system as well in the past. Luckily, without user funds disappearing. But yeah, everything comes with a little bit of risk. But yeah, the protocol is designed in a way that it tries to mitigate as much risk as possible. That's why we also try to stay as close to the native staking experience as possible and not change things. And then yeah, that's how we try to mitigate that.
Awesome. And I guess just last question: has your contracts been publicly audited at any point?
So V1 that is live has been audited by 2 audit firms without any like critical or high level findings. For V2, the code is not public yet, but we are finishing the staking components, and that will be shipped off for audits in the next few weeks. And then the liquidity pool part, which is totally separate from the staking component. So that if anything happens with that, for example, that doesn't really impact the LPT that you might have staked. That will also be fully audited by multiple parties.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, I know audits are not cheap, so appreciate you doing that.
Yeah, and then of course once we go live, the code will be fully open source, and we'll also have it live on something like Immunify or Code Arena for bug bounties.
Cool, thank you.
The additional thing is that with V2 we'll also have the token, so we'll be able to incentivize, like for example, bug bounties, maybe a little bit more.
Great. I like it a lot. As you've been developing this, Tenderize does this for other staking protocols. Are you going to be launching this for the same other protocols? Are they getting similar grant processes? Can you tell us a little bit more of the broader scope of Tenderize in general?
Yeah, definitely. So we'll be including Polygon and the graph as well at launch. Audius will probably not include for the V2 launch because it's a bit of a smaller network. And if you can see it on the PDF, we're looking to like raise like different TVLs depending on the network sizes. And I think it might say somewhere in the validator grants program that the minimum is to be eligible is like 100K USD stake through Tenderize. But Livepeer being a smaller network, we don't really have that bottom line. So anyone can basically apply for Livepeer, and as long as you bring like considerable LPT to the table, like you can be part of the validator grants program. But there will also be the public incentives, of course.
Very good.
Question. Question. What's the minimum that you guys are looking for people who are going to self-delegate?
So I haven't really thought about what like a good minimum would be. I'm also not sure like about the current token distribution of LPT amongst the different orchestrators. I know where the big pools of LPT sort of sit, but I don't really know what you guys would be willing to stake. So we have a form out. I would just suggest filling that out with like what you have in mind, and then we can kind of maybe gauge what like the average is and sort of go from there. That might be the best way to approach it for Livepeer, I think.
Got it.
I have a question. A lot of us move our self-stake out to an external wallet, so it can be a hardware wallet. So it's technically no longer self-stake. How would that work? Would we have to move it back to being actually self-staked? I realize that delegators can stake, to Tenderize, but does the initial orchestrator need to stake at least some amount to participate?
Yeah, very good question, actually. So it's indeed the case that you need to like self-stake like 1 LPT, for example, to your orchestrator. That's enough to qualify as a registered orchestrator, and then you can just self-delegate like the other stuff that you need to delegate to your own orchestrator from a separate wallet, for example, a hardware wallet. And you can do that through Tenderize, or a lot of people do that currently as well. To like have more security. In the case of Livepeer, so you'll still have to like, I think you can even like do like one way sort of LPT, so like 0.00000 whatever. That should even be sufficient, and then you should also still set your commission rates on Livepeer. My hope for V3 in the future is that we can include everything into Tenderize. So you setting your commission rates through Tenderize and self-staking your initial LPT through Tenderize as well. But that would require some changes to the Livepeer protocol. So we're not there yet. So yes, you have to like self-stake your own LPT to your orchestrator, and then you can use delegation.
Got it. I just wanted to make sure that it didn't need to be that we didn't have to, like, if we got a decent amount externally staked to ourselves, that we didn't have to move it back. So that answers that question. One other quick question. So what is Wagyu? Is that the token for LPT? Is that like a governance token, or what is that?
Yeah, good question. Yeah, that's indeed going to be our governance token. So it will be used for deciding some parameters of the protocol, but we try to take a governance minimized approach. Also in terms of upgradability of contracts, like we tried to segment a lot of things. And the other thing is that we're planning to also launch sort of a more retail product on top of Tenderize V2, which will be an index token. of the various orchestrators, and the idea is that you can stake Wagyu to an orchestrator in that index, and the amount of Wagyu it has staked that kind of decides its weight in the index, and then if people use the index and stake to it, the stake would get distributed according to those weights.
Oh, wow. Okay, cool.
I see that you have the form posted in the chat. So if anyone wants to go ahead and I guess apply to that, or I guess I haven't clicked on it yet, but the link is in the Google Docs link there.
Titan, will this be recorded?
Yes, it will.
Okay, sweet. Thank you.
We have a question from Hypnos. A question for Nico. Added smart regarding W/R. I think that's regarding. Added smart contract risk for O's and D's staking through Tenderize. Any plans of adding or partnering with some kind of smart contract insurance provider?
Oh, very good question, actually. I think there aren't really any very mature insurance products on chain today. I think there was like Nexus Mutual, but I think that was exploited a while back, like over a year ago, though, I think. And I believe like the capacity of that protocol was like always full, basically. I think they had some insurance for some tokens. And yeah, so it's a question of like, will there be insurance available if we could be able to integrate with such a thing, and who's going to provide liquidity for like the insurance as well? And historically, for a token like LPT, which has been struggling a bit on chain with liquidity, that might be very hard to pull off. So, for example, with lending and borrowing, Euler is a permissionless protocol, and you can deploy a lending and borrowing pool for any token as long as it has a Uniswap v3 oracle. But Livepeer doesn't have enough liquidity to deploy that oracle, for example. So yeah, for LPT specifically, there's going to be a couple of issues regarding integrating such things, even if they were available. But it's definitely something we would be keen to look at. So if you have any ideas or have any protocols in mind that you've been following, yeah, let me know. Because I've been kind of out of the loop on those. So yeah, it would be cool to see though. But I know the Livepeer team is working a bit to maybe increase the on-chain liquidity. So we'll see.
Very cool. Another question from Korolak. How do you, the Tenderize team, make money out of this? Is it via swap fees?
So we as the team don't really make money off of the protocol. So the protocol charges a 0.50% fee on the staking rewards, but that entirely goes to protocol-owned liquidity. So that is liquidity that the protocol allocates itself to the liquidity pools for Tenderize and pledges that it always will be there. So we don't take any of the fees, and also the swap fees that protocol-owned liquidity generates goes to the protocol and eventually also to the Wagyu holders, of course, because yeah, probably as more value is in the Tenderize protocol, the more valuable the token becomes. Usually that's how things go. And the team kind of makes money by, currently we raise the seed round, so that's how we are funded. So we have plenty of runway to build a protocol, and we have our own assets, and the team will get an allocation of Wagyu itself as well. So if the protocol does well, that's kind of how the team makes money. But not from the protocol itself. That entirely remains in the protocol to really build out a self-sustainable system that could operate for like a decade or longer without interference of the core team.
Very good. When are you planning to go live with this?
Yeah, so we're hoping to go live in August. The thing is that we're also kind of waiting for the graph to fully migrate to Arbitrum, so I'm hoping that happens soon. If that doesn't happen soon, we might have to like launch in stages a little bit. But for Livepeer, hoping August, something like that.
Very good. And one last comment I'd like to make is because you're rolling your ETH back into LPT automatically through this liquid staking, sounds pretty bullish on LPT. I think it gives a nice little buying pressure. How often is it reconciling the account to convert the ETH fees into LPT, and what route is it taking to do that?
Good question. So currently it's using Uniswap V3 to do that on Arbitrum. That's like, I believe, currently the only on-chain liquidity pool available. One thing that governance might do is, for example, allow for an upgrade to the Livepeer adapter, as we call it, to include additional potential liquidity avenues for that. But currently it uses Uniswap, and the token basically updates itself once a day. The thing there is, though, that it updates once a day. You can either like rebase the token yourself alongside your reward call, or if like someone deposits or transfers the token, it will also, for example, automatically rebase. So it's kind of self-sustainable in that way, in that it doesn't need like a relayer or manual interference to update the stake.
And is this all taking place on Arbitrum? And is there any plans to go, outside of I mean, I guess, this seems like it would be quite expensive to be rebasing things on Ethereum. Does Arbitrum make it possible to do this? Is this a risk if gas fees spike or rise? Like, how do you see that going forward?
Yeah, so there is indeed a cost to doing this, and on mainnet it is quite costly. Not as much as calling reward though, but it does add a cost if you have to do it daily. So yes, Arbitrum definitely makes some of this possible. For Polygon, for example, we'll be launching this on mainnet, so it will be a little bit harder on the gas costs. But yeah, Arbitrum definitely makes a big difference here. I think it might like be 20 or 30 cents, like depending on the gas price, to like rebase it or so, or even less if there's less demand. Gas prices have been a bit higher recently, so yeah, Arbitrum and L2s definitely make this possible. That's why we're also not really keen on launching with Audius, because that's also on mainnet, and being a smaller protocol, it might just not be worth the cost to operate it for the nodes and the delegators for a protocol. But for Livepeer being on Arbitrum, it definitely makes sense.
Very good. And so you are waiting for the graph to fully migrate to Arbitrum to launch this, or because I believe you can now start delegating on Arbitrum, but not all the rewards are on Arbitrum yet. So how are you managing that?
Yeah, so for V1 it's fully on mainnet, but for V2 we're waiting kind of a little bit for the full migration. So yeah, we'll see how that goes.
Very cool. Yeah, I'm very excited for the graph migration to Arbitrum. I think that's a really good move, and I think it's excellent for the Arbitrum ecosystem too.
Yeah, I think so as well. And we just hired a new CEO and head of partnerships who's been like an Arbitrum OG. So with his help, we can skyrocket Livepeer a bit in the Arbitrum ecosystem as well. So yeah, we're planning to like keep this on Arbitrum for Livepeer. Where Wagi will live, I'm not sure yet. It might be mainnet, it might be Arbitrum. That we'll have to see. You could potentially bridge your tokens if you would wrap them, which we will also foresee. But like, I don't really think there's much DeFi demand on other chains for Livepeer outside of Arbitrum. So I don't really see like much need to like being able to, yeah, use it on other chains except for maybe mainnet.
Very good. Excellent. Yeah. Do we have any more comments, questions from the community on this launch? Anyone in chat? Feel free to throw into chat if you have any more questions. Those are some great questions, by the way. All right. Well, I think that covers most of the topics, or at least most of the questions. Nico, did you want to finish off with maybe general thoughts on what you're excited for or challenges you might see in the future with something like this?
Yeah, no, I'm just super excited to finally get this out and get people using this, and like also make people aware a bit that like these are new possibilities that will exist soon. And I understand for like a lot of orchestrators, even liquid staking itself is kind of a new thing, and this is a new thing in liquid staking itself. So I understand that it might take like a little bit of getting used to, but I definitely think it's the new paradigm to go forward with. So yeah, really excited for launching it and to see what the future brings after that.
As for using this liquidity, you get these liquid derivatives. Are you able to then open up a pool, liquid pool on Uniswap or something to trade these for ETH, or how would that work? Or is it simply you can just redeem at any time with the liquidity provided into uh, Tenderize directly?
So yeah, we'll have our own liquidity pool that you can always use, but you're free to, or any like orchestrator is free to like build out its own liquidity pool as well. You can also add liquidity for your own derivative to the Tenderize liquidity pool, which will reduce slippage a bit for your derivative. But nothing withholds you to like build out your own little DeFi ecosystem as well. But with our liquidity pool being available, if you want to swap your own derivative for ETH, like you could probably just use an aggregator, and it will aggregate our liquidity pool, and then which will get you back the LPT, and then you would use something like Uniswap to swap the LPT for ETH.
Yeah, very good. Cool. All right. Well, thank you so much, Nico, for joining us and sharing this information. This sounds very bullish and like an excellent little add-on that we can provide to our delegating community. Anything to provide good tools for delegators, I think, is going to be super helpful and bullish for everyone who's looking to get involved. So, yeah, thank you for your time and effort, and yeah, thanks for being taking time out of your day to be with us.
Yeah, always a pleasure. I'll be posting the links again in the Orchestrator channel, also to the Typefully form, so you can find it there after the water cooler.
Very good. Okay, we'll
Thanks for having me.
continue. Thank you, Nico. We'll continue on now with the rest of the water cooler chat. We just had a few topics, but I mean we've covered quite a bit today. So, Papa Bear, you had a question about the next release for Livepeer.
I
Sorry,
did, but I'd like to change. I'd like to change my topic if possible.
yeah, well, go ahead.
I actually had a question about the graph. I was working with Zuper on the tax thing he's been working on, and we found that there's just a lot of information on the graph that either isn't available or is incorrect. And I just didn't know if anyone that's here is familiar enough or with how the graph works, and if that's possible. Or is there a process to get more information indexed by them, or how that all works? Because like we need the transaction fee, and to get that, the graph doesn't have it. And then for reward cut, when you try and pull the reward cut for your orchestrator, it only shows the current reward cut, but it doesn't show you the reward cut if you go back in time. It still shows you what the current reward cut is. So trying to pull information for daily rewards get you just can't do it using just the graph. And I'm just wondering, is that just a limitation of the graph, or is there
You
something
can
we can
get
do?
a past. You have to parse the events. I've got something put together income wise. I haven't been able to get it exactly 100% correct, but I've got it close. So the two things you asked about, transaction fee. There is a transaction fee on the graph, but it uses the bid price, not the actual
Right.
transaction
Yeah.
fee.
Which is not even close to what the transaction fee is.
So my problem was like on my node specifically, when we switched to Arbitrum, I left that, was it maximum gas or maximum, whatever the maximum gas flag was. And it would always bid that. It never paid that. It always bid that, and that's what was saved in. So it would spit out a very, very wrong transaction fee for my transactions.
Yeah, I mean, like
On
there was
the
I just remember like one transaction we just happened to pull up and just see like, hey, did this come out right? And it was showing like that it was like 80 gwei, but it was actually like 0.5 gwei. I was like,
yeah,
that's like
yeah,
not really usable. I was like, just all right, ETH transaction fee on this one if that's what it's going to be like, or ETH transaction fee on all of them. If so you're saying that there is there a way around that? I guess I didn't.
I didn't find one.
Okay.
I put it on the back burner because honestly, in Arbitrum, it's only in Arbitrum, and the transaction fees are very small. Where even if you add them all up, it's not going to make a material difference.
Yeah, no, I mean, I
So I
was
backburnered
originally
it, and I
doing
just
everything manually and never even thought about putting transaction fee in, but I was like, hey, if this thing can pull it all automatically and give it to
it
me.
was definitely worth it on mainnet.
Yeah,
Definitely
well, yeah,
worth it.
mainnet, different story. And then as far,
And
so, oh yeah, go ahead.
on the reward cuts and fee share / cuts, basically you have to pull all those events. There's an update event, and you got to pull them. I pull them 1,000 at a time, and you got to parse them.
So like look for like the transcoder event in there, like where that,
Yeah,
okay. So
yeah.
and you
And
can
then you
do
got
that
to
on like from the graph data. You don't have to go to the chain to do that directly.
you can do that from the graph data. You can only pull. I've successfully pulled 1,000 at a time. Sometimes it pulls a little bit less than that, and you just got to keep pulling until you get to the end.
So basically pull the events and then parse them for the transcoder
Yeah, and I think I
transaction.
used the rounds as a way to tell, like, when they did it. You can also get the block number with the transaction. It's also in those events, so you can use either one.
So what are you doing? You're basically just pulling the same query, but just like just running through all the different rounds and then looking for the change.
Yeah, I would. How my thing works is every time I reset it. Let's just say I reset it. It would start at the beginning of Arbitrum and pull them like 1,000 at a time. Now for transcoder update or activate events, it does maybe a round or two. This also applies for reward events. It can pull like 1,000 or less every time. You can't just pull all of them at once. That's how you get all the data.
Right.
Short of, you could just spin up a node, an Arbitrum node, and try to do it that way, but you have to have all the transactions.
Yeah, well, Mike was actually trying to pull them all because he was trying to make it available to everyone. So he was pulling I mean, it was a crap ton of stuff, and he had it paralyzed, and it was actually going pretty quickly. But we
It doesn't. It takes a few
never got to
minutes for
figuring
mine to
out how
do
to do
it.
it. What'd you say?
Doesn't take that. It takes a few minutes for mine to do it. I think. Doesn't take
Were you pulling
terribly long
down all the transactions for everyone, for all the orchestrators, or just for your orchestrator?
for every orchestrator.
Oh, okay, all right. Yeah, I mean, I guess the other way he was doing it was like trying to use some other service to pull it from. I don't know why he wasn't pulling it off his ARB node, but he's not here to speak for that, so
I think
I'll have to
if
ask
you
him.
prune the transactions out of the ARB node, that I'm out of my depth here, but I don't
Yeah,
think that the ARB nodes hold all the transactions generally. I think they
maybe
prune
that's
them
what it
from
was.
time to
Yeah,
time.
because he was going through another service, and then it would limit to like
Yeah,
only
Fortcoon's in
so
zero
many
heat.
others.
He runs
Oh,
ARB nodes.
yeah.
He can help.
Fort
You
Coon.
got something to add to
He's
this,
not.
Joey?
I think he's on a plane right now, so I'm kind of curious as to
He
whether
was
he's
at an
gonna.
airport a little while ago, so it would not surprise me if he was on the plane.
John, do you know? You prune off some of the transactions?
As far as I know, the database keeps getting bigger and bigger, so I would assume it's not really pruning. I've never pruned it like I would a Geth node.
Okay. Okay.
Because yeah, he keeps getting stuck there with trying to be able to pull all the data that he needs, and then it's just like, okay, it gets put on hold, and I'm like, really would be helpful to have all this. We're so close. So
Yeah,
the
it
graph
gets
just seems to be the
complicated.
easiest way to pull it for some reason. Or it seems to just go the fastest when he pulls it from the graph. And the last thing with talking about the graph is I didn't see an LPT price like per round, or not per round, per transaction. Did I miss that, or is that something that doesn't exist?
I don't try to be a hero on the price. I think it does something simple right now with my version of it. I pull the price separately from like CoinGecko and just do an average for a day. To be honest.
All right. You were the one,
That's kind of
actually,
what
I remember one time talking a while back saying you got to have it at the time of the transaction, and that's why I was like,
Yeah,
oh no,
technically
not
that's
just the.
correct. But
Okay,
there's diminishing returns from time to time on things. Or I
gotcha.
mean, for the
Okay.
most part, it doesn't vary that much within a day. There are days that it does.
Have you seen it today?
No, I haven't looked today.
Oh,
It
don't
doesn't.
don't.
It it doesn't vary too terribly much.
But yeah, I guess
So,
an average should get you
and then
pretty close.
the other side of that is you can't sell it the day you get it. So you couldn't sell it the moment you got it anyway. You could only sell it at best 7 days from then.
Yeah, I
So I
guess
figured just using a daily
thought you
average
just
is
I thought
enough.
like technically the right way to do it was to actually, like, at the time you receive it, that's when you're supposed to record what the USD value is of it. But maybe I
In the U.S., yes. This to note, this
yeah
does vary from country to country.
yeah. Well, I'm in the U.S. So all right, so averages should be. I mean, I know technically not right, but should be good enough. All right, well that should make life a lot easier. I will relay that to Mike and try and get him to get back on it. But I guess it's not as easy as it seems, because you gave it a shot and you haven't finished it either yet, huh? So.
I got close. I was just testing it on some. Like I tested it on yours, and I was 3 LPT off. Never could figure it out. On mine, I
How'd
was
you even figure out
point
you were 3
4
off? Like
because
how'd
I
you
was looking
figure?
using the Explorer or
Oh, well,
pulling the
okay.
registered orchestrators data. I was 3 off, and I couldn't figure out why. Because mine does the orchestrator cut, and then it also does your share of the delegated, the delegated tokens. So it does both parts. I could just never figure it out, so I just took a break. I'll get back to it, but I needed to clear my head of it. Try to see it better.
Yeah. I guess, like I said, same thing with Mike. Working on it, getting close, and then it was like, all right, I don't know, this is driving me nuts now, and it just goes on hold. So I was.
Sometimes when you look at things too much, you don't see anything anymore. So
Yeah. All right. Well, I will try and relay some of
I
that to
should
him.
talk
And
to Mike. Me and Mike
I
should
was gonna say I
talk.
should probably put you guys in. I should probably put you guys in touch, and I'm sure between the two of you guys, this thing could be like whipped up. And I mean, it sounds like you guys are both so close that between the two of you.
And on that Ethereum fee, I found some notes. I can't remember where, but I think there was like an issue or question somewhere where Adam brought it up. I think it just got backburnered. Or so I don't remember where I saw that though. Hopefully I saved a link somewhere because it took me a
Wait,
while to find.
regarding what
I think there was some issue posted that when you pulled up a transaction on the Livepeer subgraph, it wasn't actual fee, the transaction fee. It was some different fee, and they talked about it.
like
And
the bid
they
versus like is that what you're?
yeah, at some point, but this was a while ago, so things have changed since then. But I don't know that it's ever been looked at again on the Livepeer specific subgraph.
Well, it sounds like it hasn't, because we were pulling this stuff over the I don't know, within the last week, and it was yeah, like I said, 80 versus 0.5 actual, which is a pretty big difference. One way I think we lost money. One way you make money. So I mean it's a big difference.
Also, Marco was talking about upgrading his to possibly save the current, like the different states of Livepeer and the token, so that you could look it up. But because the current contracts now, they just hold the current state. They don't hold the history because that's just too much data, right? I think he was going to update his, but he also told me it was backburnered. He'll get to it eventually, but it's not right now.
Marco's working on 90 things right now, so
yeah. I'm not
probably
pressuring
not,
him. I just
probably not a
I know you
priority.
talked to him too, so you should ask him about that.
Yeah.
Apply the pressure.
And I don't know if he and he's listening. He's there. He's out there listening, and he's not saying anything. So I have a feeling I know what that means.
Apply the pressure.
You guys gotta give him a break from Video Miner, right? We can get us the tax stuff.
Yeah.
Right. Tax stuff for Americans. Yeah. Not a priority for him.
Cool.
So,
I believe the best person to ask about your first topic was Thom around the next release. But I think
I kind of realized that as he dropped off, and again, that was because I didn't really have a topic, and Mike was asking about that earlier today, so I was like, oh, okay, at least I'll have something to say. But
well, do we pull that other upgrade with the total max T's equals max sessions upgrade, or do we still have to run tests for that? Whose pull request was that? Was that John's?
Yeah, that's mine.
Do we want to slide that one into the next upgrade, or
I think that would be nice.
you pretty
Yeah,
busy
I've
still?
been on. Well, I was out last week on vacation, and I'm a little bit busy, but I think I just need some tests added to it. There were some CI actions that had failed. I need to circle back around there, but I think it's fine.
Well, I have a dev box set up now, and I got a dev box and my Go. It's up and running. I can now just press play and it runs. So I'm very, very excited. So maybe you could show me how to do tests, and then what
Yeah.
do? You just add those. You post those results with it to make sure everything passed.
Yeah, they're just unit tests. It was a test explorer, and there's different code files for each. Pretty much match the structure of the application, and then it's interesting. I just thought of a concept there. One of the demonstrations of ChatGPT has been writing tests automatically. So it'd be really interesting to see how that would get you started.
Maybe I
yeah,
just
that might
ask
work.
ChatGPT how to do tests.
Right. Yeah, they've always been a pain to an extra bit of work to deal with. It's been holding this one up, I think.
Does it, what does it require? Yeah. Do you just press a button, like, or do you have to write the test, or
I am not quite sure. I haven't used it yet, so I was just mentioning it because that's available. I've seen.
All right. Well, ChatGPT to the rescue. I'm going to ask how to write Livepeer tests. It's going to be like,
and then have someone confirm that that's actually gave you the right answer.
Yeah, and I mean,
I've gotten some funky stuff out of ChatGPT.
Yeah, and it's GitHub Copilot to be exact, right? It's GPT engine.
Right, I got Copilot, so I can just ask Copilot?
Yeah, there is someone you type comments and you say write a test for this and hit tab. At least that's what I saw in a video.
Oh.
Something like that.
Copilot gets in the way a bit too. Like I'm trying to write something so simple and it's like, how about this? How about this? And I'm like, no, stop. I'm like, oh, just like, although it's very good at adding comments, it's like very articulate. I was like, run bench. And it's just like, run benchmark using this. And I'm like, well, that's more specific. That's nice. So, yeah, I finally I'm doing some upgrades to the pool. So, yeah, with the new NVIDIA drivers now have increased default max session limits. So you don't actually know when your transcoders are patched or not anymore because it'll actually run up to 3 sessions before it runs out of memory. So I'm writing a new type of test where it checks to see if you're patched. Because if you just automatically update, it'll wreck that, and then your transcoders you won't even know it's not patched and running out of memory. So, something to keep in mind. Great. Okay, add to my list to dos, ask ChatGPT how to run tests. Right.
Yeah. Maybe you can show me how to use that if you've been using it with Python. I've been struggling to figure it out in VS Code.
Struggle what out?
Just Copilot.
Oh yeah, yeah. Yeah, it's just like a plugin that's built in.
Yeah, I've got that far. Haven't been able to figure out how to wake it up or use it. Like some extensions of VS Code are not too intuitive on how to use.
Oh, is that right? Okay, well, I mean, I just use JetBrains, so it's pretty built in.
Okay.
So I use as for Go, I just use GoLand, which is by JetBrain. And again, you just literally log in, and it's like, you're done. And anytime you start writing, it's like, would you like this? And I'm like, oh,
Oh,
well, sir,
that's nice.
you seem to be very responsive.
That is great.
Um,
That's good. Easiest intelligence.
There we go. Okay, a couple more things I would like to cover. Brad, your dashboard shows us the amount of seconds it took to return transcode segments. Are all the segments static in your tests? Are they 2 seconds? Or
They're 2 seconds. I split it at 2 seconds, although some have a little bit more data than others.
because when they come from a broadcaster, they're not going to all be 2 seconds. They're going to be like 3 seconds, 1.6 seconds, 10 seconds. Is it better to change that into the score rather than the amount of time?
Latency score? Is that what
The
you're...
like
He's talking about
transcode
the
score.
transcode time. The transcode time that shows up.
And the transcode time is that shows up in the dashboard is the full round trip when it's done. So it includes every bit of time for the
Right.
broadcaster to get it back.
So, like for instance, I'm at 2.2 seconds, so I'm like over real time, with a 2 second segment. So what you're saying is those are 2 second segments, right?
Yep.
So
Every one of them.
based in that, is that the average or like the last stream?
That's the average. It's the average of all of them.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's terrible. Oh my god. Although you might have a large distance between my ingest node.
It's New York. So it's actually in New York or New Jersey. I think it's in New Jersey.
Well, I guess I'm not returning things fast enough, so it's very interesting. So that being said, when you go to release this into the wild of Broadcaster, they won't all be 2 second segments. So I wonder, instead of you saying 2.2 seconds, you could say the score is like 1.1 or whatever it would convert into, because it might not be true. Like 2 seconds might sound bad, but it's pretty good if it's an 8 second segment, right?
Correct.
That is
I'm
true.
just thinking through, staring off in the distance, thinking 1 second. So you would have to calculate that like per segment. Usually the duration is there or is available per second, but the calculation had to be done before I calculate the average, and then it would just put those averages, the transcode time divided by duration, which is the segment time.
What I do is I take the manifest ID of that stream and I parse out all the duration segments, so like the total durations, and I add them all up, and then I add up all the transcoded, the amount of time it takes to transcode, and then I divide the two, and I get the total, round trip average
For that stream.
Yeah. Well,
Okay.
but then what I do is I then take all the streams that a transcoder does, and I add up all those ones, and then I come up with like a total score for that hour. And that's how my transcoders get a real-time ratio every hour on my dashboard.
It should be possible. I think I need to add the data point of duration, segment duration, to the results data set. So each segment, my thing, has a little JSON set of fields. I just need to add duration, and it could, as it calculates the data for the graph, it can calculate the score for each segment.
So as like a percentage of real time, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah, that probably makes more sense for in the wild, not knowing that not a controlled environment where they're all 2-second segments.
The trick is on the ones where it switches orchestrators. Isn't that correct? So because you don't get the Ethereum address with every single log line, you get.
But you get the manifest ID.
Correct, and you get the URL. So it is possible. It's possible. I think it's a good idea to just flatline it. I think it's a good idea to change that, and it's a good point that my sanitized environment is not real life.
Yeah, I just know that like I go through log files, like that's literally how my pool works. I just parse log files, and like a bunch of times it's like streams come in with at 1.6 second durations. Sometimes they come in at 3.5 seconds, and then sometimes they're 11 seconds, right? And so, if you're sending back an 11-second file in 4 seconds, that's
great.
really great. But it looks really bad if it's like you're sending it back in 4 seconds and you're assuming it's 2, right?
Yep.
So
that's a good point.
Having a score is more applicable. And then what I have
the segments that are like real time, it actually pulls that latency score, but from broadcaster. But as me and Papa Bear figured out, it cuts off. It doesn't. That latency score is calculated on, I think, excludes download times. So I'll have to recalculate it, but nonetheless, good idea.
I can also tell you that through a secret tool I have access to, that looking at your thing, Titan, you out of the 5 streams that you were selected for, you did drop 4 of them. I didn't go in and look at the detail of like how. Well, I'm gonna guess it's time, because just based on your average time.
Mm-hmm.
So that will be something you can look up on the chart, but it's not ready for prime time yet. But I can tell that.
He's talking about my test dashboard, because I'm trying to not kill the main dashboard every 5 minutes. So I have a test one now. I'll send you the link. Titan's okay to see it too.
Yeah, I just
you can see how bad.
I just wanted to sound cool, like I got access to something that everyone else doesn't.
Cool back in some back room board meeting room where you're just like, I can see Titan. He doesn't do it. He's not doing his job.
Well,
when I told Papa Bear about it, I was like,
yeah, of course. I mean,
this, when you that's one of the things we want to know, is when you're losing a segment, that you've lost segments, and I think Brad's got a couple ways to also display that in an easier to read way.
Yep.
But
I'm trying to work through that. When you filter, say, for your orchestrator Titan, like it can display more information that when I'm showing all of the orchestrators, it just shouldn't display all of that, So
it's like overload to see that for everyone, everything for everyone. Yeah.
Yeah, because I'm trying to come up with like, I mean, how do you become a performant pool, right? This is kind of one of the crux of like how we could do this as a community. Because I've created like this striking system that's like, oh, if you're, but it's not, but it doesn't, it's not great if like it's not very fine tuned. Probably not nearly as close as to like Video Miner, right? So like, just trying to just from my perspective, how do I continue trying to like make a performant public pool, right? That's a tough thing to do, it seems. So Yeah.
It's not easy, and ours is not perfect either. So I can tell you that, but it's definitely better than just letting them go random or letting them go wild.
Ours is perfect. I don't know what you're talking about.
It's very good, but
I'm
occasionally
kidding.
there's
I'm
some
kidding.
stuff
Yeah,
slips
no,
through.
no,
Yeah,
it's hard. It's really
yeah.
hard when you're dealing
Do-
with public
Trying to make
GPUs.
Titan feel good, Come on, he's running
Yeah,
his
no, of
pull
course,
request,
yeah.
Yeah, I might need to
Yeah.
abandon my style of like post-production, like figuring out who's doing bad, and go to a more like live production like you guys are doing, where you're parsing the performance as it's happening and deriving some sort of algorithm. But that would require changes directly to Go and having compiled. So I'm getting to that point. I'm getting better. Very excited for it.
Yeah, and I think there's still some discussion regarding like what we want to open source. And I know we want to open source at least some of it, but Marco is the guy who built the whole performance thing, so it's really his call at the end of the day.
Yeah, but like I don't have to use your guys' performance thing. Just like it's just everyone does their own thing, and then this is one of the best things about building on top of open source stuff is that you can figure out there's competition for creating more unique solutions to one type of problem. And I mean,
Yeah.
every orchestrator, that's the role of the orchestrator. Who's a good orchestrator? What makes a good orchestrator, right? Iterating, trying out new things, and figuring it out, right? That's literally the job of an orchestrator is to delegate these kind of things and figure out solutions. So the network will do. That's why I believe in owning tokens in the network and us orchestrators having good reward cuts, because as we gain ownership, you become less competitive, because you know that as other people are doing good work, you have ownership in that good work, and that is rising tides lift all boats, right? So the work you're doing on
Absolutely.
Video Miner helps me because I have ownership in the network. So I believe in this is probably good type of iteration and competition amongst us, which I like. It's very good.
Indeed.
Cool. Next release from Livepeer, who knows? We'll find out. Probably. Yeah, a couple more items before we sign off. Bubble.io app that Mahmood was working on is now live. So if you want the first version of it, looks pretty cool. He showed me it. Now you can have a no-code example, literally drag and drop. You can build a website using Livepeer. You can basically
That's pretty cool.
drag your Livepeer player, and then you drag your ingest URL, and it works. All in a no-code framework,
Wow.
such as
When do we get
Bubble.io.
when's he going to be a guest to demo that for us?
Well, he's got, I think, 3. He showed it to me today. I just met up with him actually in London here. I've been meaning to meet up with Mahmood. So he showed it to me, and it was like, it was like 3 seconds. He's like, see, you just drag this, and you're done. And he showed me the stream, and he's like, yeah, this is transcoding through Livepeer. I was like, wow, that's incredible. And he's like, yeah, that's just version 1. Basically, it works, but there's no context around like what's happened, like what can you do with this. So what he's doing now, I believe in phase 2, is he's building like the VOD section. So he's got the live section, which is quite easy apparently. The VOD section he's working on second. So this is uploading video, which I think people in general are more familiar with and more find more useful, because live is great, but I think video uploading people.
So we lost you for a second there.
Oh,
Titan.
there we go. Am I back?
Yeah, you're back.
You're back. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Basically, where did I leave off? Yeah. Phase 1
You were
was
saying people are familiar with uploading videos.
Yeah.
And
People
then
are familiar with uploading videos, and I think that's more of an appeal to people, especially in a no-code environment. So yeah, so that the second phase I believe is like uploading the video, the VOD side of things. So you can drag and drop an entire YouTube style video website. And then the third, I think, is like the third phase. I don't know. I can't remember. Is like so wrapping it in some sort of like utility, so or like tools. So you can have a list of videos, you can have playlists, you can have all these types of things. And then once you have live, and then VOD, and then functions around how you want to display these things, I think that's the full developer suite for Livepeer built on Bubble. So pretty excited for that. So like I said, if you can go onto the GitHub and just like comment on it and play around with it and try it out and provide feedback, because Bubble is the largest no-code platform out there. So if we can get people building on it, I think that's pretty good.
That sounds super cool. I'd love to see it.
I'll
Definitely.
take a look at that platform. It's a good place to start for a few projects.
Yeah, I've built something on there. It's really nice if you want to learn about front end stuff. It's amazing. You can build this amazing app, and it really experiences shows you the power of front end stuff, as well as back end, and without having to actually know how to code. It's really powerful. I was really impressed by it.
Yeah, and that's really what we need to go with the stack of a decentralized system. Something that can run without a server is a win, and that whole end-to-end solution. Good for publishers and broadcasters and everything.
Yeah.
Don, how did the swarm go, or how's that going around the kind of this topic?
Good question. So right now I've got a branch there. You can record to an S3 endpoint. It doesn't have to be Swarm, but there's a Swarm adapter that's been developed with an S3 interface, similar to like Storj and other providers that are actually in the Livepeer documentation for Studio. So I think it's a pretty common format that we can integrate with even at the Studio level. But yeah, you can stream to Swarm, and then through the CDN, we're using a provider called Protobox. You can watch the stream live as it plays, and it puts out 6 segments and it overwrites the M3U8 playlist. And there's a CDN cache on the end of that, which is a common setup for those. And then you can also play it back when it's done. So when it gets done, it's supposed to take all the segments that were streamed, and it overwrites as a one big long playlist. So then you can watch the whole video again. And so we got that part working, but there's a limitation because currently it stores JSON playlists, and the purpose for that, I assume, is the performance aspect of, like, let's say I did an 8-hour long stream. It's holding that variable in memory for all those segments, just the text of it, and it's sending that as an overwrite each time. So I think after 1 hour, that's the reason why they set it for after 1 hour, it will create another JSON playlist. So what's pending is to be able to go through those JSON playlists chronologically and grab each successive hour chronologically and save that as an M3U8, so then you could play the entire video beyond 1 hour. And then of course unit tests again, which are always a thing.
That's pretty cool. I don't understand. I don't think half of what you said, but
no,
it's pretty cool.
I tried to put it in simple format.
It was simple enough. I think I'm just more simple and I don't get it. But
yeah, I know there's an
existing. Putting you on the spot.
Yeah, and there's an existing web method or endpoint, called recordings. You can pass a manifest ID to that, and it'll pull those JSON segments and broadcast through the broadcaster node. And that's useful if you want to do S3 storage, and that's how it's implemented today. But what we're doing is adding the ability to put those M3U8 playlists directly on a storage system that you can open up on a HTTP website, right?
Yeah.
and play that directly off of there rather than having to feed it back through the broadcaster. And that gets you closer to that decentralized stack.
Yeah. And this is going to be like built into Catalyst?
Currently not planning any. I think that's definitely in the roadmap, just like with Studio.
Okay.
I haven't fully picked all of that apart. I did a little research early last week on it.
At some point, we need to spin up a Catalyst thing and see how it goes.
Absolutely.
I don't use Catalyst right now either. I just use the base broadcaster because it's just less layers of stuff. On my roadmap too to try to use it, but it's kind of far down the roadmap.
Yeah, I'll try to get something set up soon. I mean, it's interesting as Livepeer Studio has its own repo too, and it has some interactions with S3 for their implementation of storage. Yeah. And I think it runs all the way through that with like the auth webhook. There's a lot more details to dig into there.
All right. Great. These are great topics. Any more on this front?
No specific topic, but if somebody has any metrics they would like to see in the dashboard or the introspection upgrade, feel free to let us know or let me know, and I can try to prototype it on what I have going right now. So, try to think of everything we can, but Titan gave me a great point right now that I never even thought of about the duration not always being the same. So appreciate that.
I'm just downloading some of your logs. I went to your test thing. What's the difference between download logs and download data?
Data is the parsed
JSON.
JSON. The logs is the raw actual logs from the broadcaster, and the download data is my version of getting the helpful points out. All the logs that we marked broadcaster introspection, I added to my parsing.
Right.
So I wanted to see if we can actually get actionable knowledge from, the long lines that we identified.
So I'm just looking at your test link you just sent me. Is this what you've been talking about?
Yeah, that's what I was talking about.
Papa Bear, yeah.
That's why I selected you. I just typed in Titan and it like.
If you type in Titan node in the search bar.
Yeah, and then it comes up, yeah. And then,
yeah, I didn't realize it had autocomplete, and I was looking up ETH addresses. I didn't even realize that ENS built in.
Yeah, very cool. Yeah, I'm gonna parse through some of this and just see why I'm doing so poorly.
But if I would recommend downloading the JSON, the data, so the JSON files, and then looking through there, finding when you were selected, and then it shows you segment by segment, like the upload, the download, the transcode time, all that stuff.
Yeah, because I'd like to cross-reference it against my node and see how much delay there is between my node and your node, because I'm kind of curious as to why there's that much of a discrepancy. I don't think there's, because on the test stream dashboard, I'm usually under 2 seconds for a 2-second segment. So I just wonder why it's so much slower. Because I normally go off of like the test streams, the public test streams on the public dashboard.
Wildly different results between the two for me, and probably most people.
Yeah, my NYC, I'm at 0.63 seconds for, or not 0.3, 53 seconds, 83 seconds, 63 seconds for the round trip time. And then on yours, I'm 2.2 seconds. So I'm just wondering where that discrepancy is. Because my upload and download are 4 seconds and 2 seconds for New York. And then my actual transcode time is like 78 seconds, 57 seconds. So like, yeah, I'm like really good in New York. So I just wonder why on yours it's showing returning in 2 seconds. It seems really poor.
Not exactly sure if there's a difference in the way that it shows data or if there just is a difference in like the workloads. But I mean, if you look at anyone's average times and then you compare them to the Livepeer tests, they're very, very different.
Interesting. Or is that potentially the bandwidth of the server that Brad is using?
It could be that hasn't been.
It
That
could
we haven't
be, but
determined that.
I've never hit. It's in a Volter server. It's on a Volter server, and looking at the metrics, I am not hitting bandwidth limits. But yes, any of those things could be a factor. But anybody using another broadcaster that's not Livepeer Inc. could hit similar things, right?
Maybe that's worth logging too, right? What is the upload time, download time, or is it only
It's logged.
showing?
It's there. It's there.
It's all
If you
there.
look, if you
Oh,
go into that JSON file, it's some work to get through it all. But yeah, just put your ETH address in there and
Oh, put the ETH
fine.
address in.
Your
You can
ENS.
put your
The
sorry.
ENS?
Actually, can't you use either one? Or different ones show different
No,
things.
it is the ENS. Yeah.
If you have an ENS name, then you have to use the ENS.
Reason. So IP address, reason, and then nothing. ETH address. Oh, I see. Wait, what's going on? Where does it show me? Oh, I see. For every stream, the reason is stake weighted. Oh, I see. There you go. Stake weighted 1 out of 45. So that means I won on stake against 45
Right.
other people in the pool, right?
And that also means you were the first one in the pool, and the random number it chose was less than the stake on your node.
Damn.
Nobody else got a shot on that specific one.
Oh wow. Okay. And then where do I find the performance on that segment I sent? Is it following that in the JSON?
I think
Yeah.
it's actually above that, isn't it? Above it.
Performance.
Yeah. So each broadcaster test, there's a segments section, and you can see all the data for each segment.
Because then it says ETH tight node, reason, performance, no segments in flight, latency score, 0.87.
If you go a little bit below that, go down a
It
little
might
bit.
be up. I'm not sure where he's looking.
Oh yeah.
If you're looking at, are you looking at the selected orchestrators block?
Reason, performance, no
I think
segments.
you are. I think you are. So scroll up on that broadcaster test, and you'll see a segment section. It's past selection pool. Going up, you'll see segments.
Stake weighted. Selected orchestrators. So there's a list of selected orchestrators.
Yeah, because it does a selection for each segment. That's where it's checking that you.
Right.
Each segment is checking that you're real time.
Yeah.
So I log. I bring in every time it says selected orchestrator and why.
Right. So select it. So then it's telling me reason. Okay. I got it. I kept it. Okay. So then I can just keep searching this and it'll keep telling
so
me.
are you you're in the part where it's segments? So it's showing you like the transcode time, the upload time,
of
download
each
time.
segment.
Okay. Right. Okay.
But it's just giving me the latency score. It's not giving me
there's
upload.
Scroll up. There's another at get past selection pool. There's a segment section too that'll give you the actual times for upload, transcode, download in milliseconds.
Oh, I see. Transcode time, upload time, download time, return time, 4 point. That sounds terrible.
Well,
those are milliseconds, by the way.
Oh, so. Well, there you go. 4 milliseconds. It sounds a little better. Well, that's 1 second total time. Error none. Orc swapped false. Reason. Oh God, yeah. This is a lot of data. This is very hard to read.
Now, yeah.
It is
Now,
a
now
lot.
you see. I asked him to make it in, put it in the graph there in the chart, so you can see what.
Yeah, I can
without
see.
going
Yeah,
through
there's
this.
lots of
Yeah,
information here. Yeah, of course. Okay.
I
Well,
spent
this is
hours going through
amazing,
this
though. This
over the
is
weekend.
really
Yeah.
good.
But
When
the
you're
point is, you
ready,
can see the data is there. So if you like data that's there, you can then request
yeah,
Brad to pop that into something
yeah.
else that makes it easier to read.
Papa Bear loves reading log lines. I can tell already.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
He's very
yeah.
helpful. Very helpful. I very much appreciate the time he spent looking at this. It's helped a lot.
When you're ready, just let me know. We'll do the too slow error. Although clearly you're getting too slow errors already, so that's already being
Yeah.
logged, right? So
Yeah.
That's a swapped.
right. So
That's
we
what
don't
the
even need to
swap
do that test. You already know where to find it, right?
Yeah, it's working. I have seen there's two different versions of it. So there's the version at where the first orchestrator for the segment just never returns anything and it times out. Then it'll retranscode that one. The second version is it returns in say 3 to 4 seconds. It'll wait for that 3 to 4 seconds, get the result, and then switch the orchestrator on the next segment. That makes sense. So the first scenario where nothing's returned, it times out, it'll retranscode that segment.
Is that only for the first segment, though? You said, or is that just
It would
any
be for any segment, I believe, but it generally happens on the first one because it selects one of the orchestrators that does not transcode.
So you're right. So a way of testing that would be to like run an orchestrator, turn off the orchestrator. It times out after 8 seconds, and then seeing what it does.
Yeah, or you can just look up the orchestrator that ends in like 8905.
The one that doesn't return is 3015.
3015 also.
Right. So
And you can see
same
how it
issue.
works.
So there's only two paths it's going down. It's either returning it too slow or not returning it within its timeout range.
Correct.
Yeah.
That's what I've seen so far.
Okay.
Yep.
Cool. Okay. Boom. I was gonna bring up the Binance versus the SEC event that just happened, and actually like
Oh boy.
tanked the market. Do we want to cover
Yeah,
that real quick?
I know. I was gonna sell some goddamn Matic. It just collapsed today. What the hell, man?
You get to keep
Binance,
it.
calm down. Like, chill out. We're already in the bear market. We don't need more bear market. Trying to get out of it. Come on, Binance.
Dude, I just love it. I love it so much.
Oh yeah, I mean it's great.
Such a
I
good
guess
buying
I'll
opportunity.
pay for my car next month.
That's right. What you do is you just live under you sell everything you have, and you buy into the bear market. You live under a bridge, and you just hold onto your knees and shake back and forth.
I'll wear my ledgers on my neck with that cute little necklace they released.
Yes, perfect.
Okay.
And you just go, yes, this is correct. This is what we do.
Yes.
Yeah. So no, we'll leave that for next week as we find out what's going on. So that could be a good topic because we've been at this for 2 hours. So what I'll do is we'll end it here. And yeah, any last topics, comments before we sign off? Very good. I like it. I like it a lot. Thank you everyone for coming for this week's Water Cooler Chat. Do appreciate your time, effort, and attention for being here and building out the future of decentralized video infrastructure. And yeah, cheers. We will see you all next week. And yeah, if you have any guests you'd like to recommend to bring on or want to reach out, just let me know. And we'll go from there. Thanks, everyone. See you next week. Cheers.
Everyone.
Yep.